Good morning, everybody. So we're really excited to be here on GSU for World Languages Day. I'm with CIA, as Tim said. When you hear CIA, what do you think of? Spy stuff, government. Do you guys watch like Homeland or the Jason Bourne films or Jack Ryan or any of that stuff? Okay, so that's kind of the Hollywoodized version of CIA and what we do. I'm here from a specific component of CIA. We look for folks with foreign language skills and computer skills. Why? Because we follow foreign media. So do you guys like to go on the internet and search for information? Probably everybody here does that. You guys are on social media, Twitter, Facebook, etc., Snapchat. So we collect foreign media from countries like Russia and China and India and other parts of the world as part of our intelligence collection process. So CIA has a host of intelligence products that we produce, and we collect stuff. We get imagery, overhead reconnaissance. We collect signals intelligence, okay, listening in on phone conversations. We collect open source intelligence, which is where I'm coming from right now. Yes, ma'am, you have a question real quick? Well, think about the amount of information. Think about this for a second. There's something like 3.5 billion people are on social media in the world. Do you think we have the capacity to follow everybody's Twitter account? You do. How many people at CIA would we have to be able to do that, to follow the Earth's population? Probably a few million, right? We're much, much smaller than that. We don't have the capacity to do that. We have to be very selective about what we're looking at. Remember, our mission is collection and analysis of foreign intelligence. We don't care what Americans are doing. We're looking at the world. We're looking at Russia. We're looking at China. We're looking at Iran. We're looking at North Korea. Potential adversaries of the United States, because our #1 mission is the national security of the United States, okay? I don't care what you guys are saying on Twitter. I really don't. Neither does anybody at CIA. So what my job does, what my folks do, is we look at a foreign media environment. Say we are looking at China. We're trying to understand what the Chinese population gets to see on the news, what they see, what they listen to in the radio, what their folks are saying on social media, because that gives us an insight into public sentiment, for example, right? Are the Chinese people happy with the Chinese government? Are they happy with the trade policies and the potential trade war between the United States and China that's going on right now? This is all intelligence. This provides a window so we can understand what is going on. Our job is to provide finished intelligence to the senior policymakers of the United States. We are not a policy organization. We are an intelligence organization. It means we get information, we write finished intelligence, we give it to the President, we give it to the Secretary of State, we give it to Congress, to the Department of Defense, etc., okay? So the reason we're interested in foreign languages is we need folks that can look at these media environments and understand the language and the cultural aspects, and so they can put it into context. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I was posted down to U.S. Southern Command outside of Miami as a liaison officer from CIA to the command. Our job from open source was to help prepare. We worked with the Brazilians in the run-up to the 2016 Brazil Olympics. What do you think could happen, what could go wrong at the Olympics that would be at the top of the agenda in terms of people's concerns? Terrorist attacks, exactly. So the Brazilian government and the military and their intelligence services were concerned that ISIS or Al-Qaeda or some other terrorist organization might launch a terrorist attack. So we agreed to work with them, and we had some of our smart open source officers. They had Portuguese, because they speak Portuguese in Brazil. And we had data scientists and digital targeters, folks that are very adept at mining open source information. They created an algorithm so we could do what's called data layering. So we could look at things like social media, local reporting, commercial, satellite imagery, put all this data together so we could get a picture of what was going on. So we would have a tip-off if it looked like a terrorist attack was underway somewhere during the Olympics, so we could respond and assist the Brazilian military and police forces and intelligence services. Nothing happened. We were very fortunate that nobody tried to launch a terrorist attack, but it helped that we were prepared just in case. And a lot of that was from our folks at CIA and from open source. Because we have greater capacity, we have a lot more money, we can do things, we have technologies that some of our partners don't have. So they turn to us for assistance, and generally if they're a partner, we'll help them out. So we're here today, we're looking for folks like you who are studying foreign languages If you're considering using those foreign languages or perhaps majoring in a foreign language when you go to college, that could be a gateway to working for the CIA or the entire intelligence community. Our mission is mostly overseas, right? We collect this stuff, so we need people that have those foreign language skills, okay? I'm gonna just quickly walk you through the process for anybody that's interested. We have a website, everything is done online now, cia.gov/careers. So if you guys are thinking about going on to college and thinking about what your major is, take a look at our website. That will help give you some information on which direction you may want to go if you want to use a foreign language as an entry to CIA. If you like a couple of jobs, there's a thing called a job fit tool. You plug in your information about your academic background, your hobbies and interests, your work experience, and that will crunch all that data and it'll give you some suggested positions at CIA. Those are the positions you should apply for. For all of you guys that are in high school, you could think about applying for a paid internship at CIA. Between your freshman and sophomore year or your sophomore and junior year, you could come out to Washington and do a summer internship. And you'll probably be working at CIA headquarters. You'll go through the same clearance process that a CIA staff employee will go through, and it takes about a year. So for those of you that are going to be in college next year, you would want to apply for the summer 2020 summer internships. And those openings are going to start in late December, early January this year. You can start applying in about 3 months, okay? There's a window, there's about a 4 or 5 month window if you don't get your application and then you got to wait another year. Because it takes a year to do what? Your background investigation. If you come on board as an intern, you are the same clearance as a staff employee. You have a top secret security clearance. That is going to take you about a year to do that, okay? You have to come out to Washington, they'll interview you. Uncle Sam pays for the airline fare and your hotel, and you don't have to worry about that. You get interviewed, and if it goes well, they will say, we would like to bring you on board as an intern. They'll fly you out the next summer. You'll most likely be staying in an apartment or a townhouse with other interns, okay? And you can find your own place, that's fine, but it's Washington, D.C., it's relatively expensive, so we try to assist people to find a place that's affordable. You do get paid for the summer, and it's not a lot of money, but it'll at least cover your expenses, and they'll put you in a job where you're actually doing intelligence work. You're not making copies, you're not making coffee, you're actually doing intel work because you've got that top secret security clearance. And that's your opportunity to kind of figure out, is this something I can see myself doing for a career? And if that's the case, then you finish your college studies, you get your degree, you've already been cleared, you've already gone through the process, you have a job right after you graduate from college. And that's not something a lot of people can say today. Okay, I got 2 kids, one graduated from college, one in college, and it's a struggle. My daughter has got a great job in Northern Virginia, but a lot of her friends, they're still struggling to find a real job, finding a career. And we have a lot of benefits. And if you guys have not come over to our table in the ballroom, please stop by. We've got several officers here. Combined, we've got 100 years experience, I think. I've got 28 years. My colleague Roy's got 35 years at the agency. We had one other colleague had 40 years at CIA before she retired. It's a great career. Do you guys have an interest in working overseas, or do you like travel? Yeah, so this is one of those agencies where it will give you that opportunity to do that. I've got about 28 years plus with CIA. I've worked or traveled or lived in 5 continents. I've visited dozens and dozens of countries, and that's been part of my job. I'm actually getting paid to go to other places, right? And that's one of the things that attracted me to the agency, because I've always had a fascination for foreign languages, foreign culture, foreign food, foreign movies, and that's what we're looking for. You guys are studying foreign languages, you might major in foreign languages, that's exactly the type of person that we need. So I'm gonna stop there for a minute, and I'm gonna turn it over to my colleague. Do you guys have any questions for me? And then I'm gonna go get Miracle and man the table in the ballroom. Yes, sir. So the pay, you're under the GS schedule, the General Service Schedule. The United States government has a flat fee. You can go to the 2018 GS schedule, and it'll show what people earn from GS, what does it start at, 2? 7, step 1, I think for, starts at a 2, goes GS2 to GS15, and within each GS range, there's steps 1 through 10. Typically, a CI officer might start at a GS7 or a GS8, step 4, step 5. And so you can see what that is. Just Google 2018 GS schedule. There's also locality pay. So because Washington is more expensive than a lot of places, except for like New York and Miami, there's a few cities that are more, there's locality pay too. So they bump up your pay because of the fact that you live in an expensive area. So you might start off, I don't want to give you exact numbers, but you might start off at, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year entry. And then you will obviously go up in the ranks and earn more money. But there's a lot of perks with that. If you work for CIA for a career, you get a pension. How many companies today provide pensions for people when they retire? We also have our own 401k plan. It's called the Thrift Savings Plan. It's a US government run, similar to a 401k. Uncle Sam matches it. You put in money every 2 weeks, up to 5% of your pay before you get taxed, and it's matched by 5% from Uncle Sam's. That's free money. That's 10% of every paycheck for every 2 weeks. Add up, for over 25, 30 years, it's quite a nest egg when you retire. And then you can withdraw from that once you've retired from the agency. Yeah. So a pension is if you work at a company for 20 years, 30 years, you retire, you get paid in retirement. It's not as much as you made when you were still working, but it's still a paycheck, right? So you're still going to get money even after you retire. 401k is an investment plan. When you're not starting in the workforce yet, but when you do start, you're going to want to start saving for the future because someday you want to retire, right? You don't want to work until you're 90 years old and you drop dead, being a greeter at Walmart or something. That's not what, you want to have some time where you can relax, right? I know a lot of people that end up doing jobs because they didn't plan and they didn't save, and so they're 75, 80, 85 years old. That's too old to be working. You should be enjoying your life, right? So that's planning, and that's like a 401k. Yes, ma'am. So I can't give out any numbers. It's incredibly competitive for the agency, for the internships and for staff positions. So my suggestion, if you're interested, go to our website, see what it involves, and plan early. So if you were going to do a summer internship of 2021, make sure you do that application a year in advance and get it in early. If the applications open up in, say, December of 2019, like next December, submit your application as soon as you can because that puts you at the front of the line. Don't wait until March or April at the very end because by that time, a bunch of people have already come into the system. And the people that we like, we're going to be scooping up. Okay, so don't cheat yourself and put it off and procrastinate. Do it early on. There was one other person. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so there's a lot of different jobs at CIA. At open source, we have folks that are language experts. Some of them have 3, 4, 5 languages. They look at foreign media environments. If you have Spanish, you might study Cuba. You might study Venezuela, Nicaragua. You're going to look at the media. You might translate it. You're going to do analysis. You're going to be looking at an intelligence question that you're going to try to answer using open source information and utilizing your Spanish. We have foreign language officers that work for Directorate for Operations. So when we operate overseas, we try to recruit assets, we call them human intelligence. So if you're trying to understand say the Korean nuclear program, the North Korean nuclear program, who's going to know more about that than anybody else? Probably a nuclear scientist. So maybe we can find a nuclear scientist that's not happy with their government. Maybe we can get that person to work for us. So somebody that has those Korean language skills is going to be immensely valuable in that process. Okay, so there's a number of different language jobs across CIA, and to the extent that you guys can focus on one of our critical languages, we have a lot of folks that speak French and Spanish and German. The critical languages are Mandarin Chinese, Russian, Arabic, Farsi, which is Persian, Turkish, Korean, Hindi, Urdu, Pashto. Those are languages that we need folks that have those skills. That'll make you really competitive at CIA. Okay? Any other questions? Then I'm going to turn it over to Roy. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll go get Miracle.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I consider what I do kind of an incubator operation. As Joe said, I did a 35-year career with the CIA. I spent about 9 years overseas in Asia and Europe. And when I retired from the agency, I went out and I actually opened my own real estate investment company. Did that until 2008. And do anyone know what happened in 2008? I actually got a call about that time from the guy who replaced me. My last job at CIA, I was director of logistics for a worldwide logistical operation. I had 700 people I was responsible for. And when I left that job, we had finished the Iraq war, and I said, I'm going to go and do what Joe said. I'm just going to chill. I had a mentor tell me, don't do a thing. Go away for a year. Don't even think about working. That lasted about 3 months, and then I got bored. And I said, okay, now it's time to do something else. So in 2008, I got a call from an individual friend of mine who worked at the agency who had gone to work for a native Alaskan firm in Anchorage, Alaska. And he said, Roy, we have an opportunity to win a contract to provide program management support to a program that I want to describe to you called the National Security Education Program. This program, and the reason I'm saying it's an incubator is because what we do is prepare young folks, young college students, to work in the national security community. The National Security Education Program was started in 1991. We started giving awards to college students to learn critical foreign languages in 1994. We've given about 6,600 awards to college students. And I want to tell you a little bit about the Bourne program because the whole purpose of our program is to create and sustain a flow of U.S. citizen professionals who have capability in languages. This program, you have to be in college. That's why I say it's an incubator. You have to be in college. We have a program called the Bourne Scholarship. It is a program where you apply. If you are successful in getting the scholarship, we will give you up to $20,000 to study 1 academic year overseas. And that's the requirement. The requirement for you to get the award is 1, you have to be interested in working for the federal government, preferably in a national security community type job. And 2, you have to make the case. Why is the study that you're going to do overseas, how is it going to support national security of our country? Those are the 2 primary things that you have to convince us of. It is a very competitive program. When you apply, first thing that happens is your application goes to a regional panel of experts in the area, in the region that you want to study overseas. And then it goes to a national panel who makes recommendations to the director as to how many awards we're going to give. We give about 250 awards a year. 150 go to undergraduates, and about 100 go to master's and PhD students. And as Joe said, the languages that we focus on and we prefer you study are Arabic, Mandarin Chinese, Turkish, Persian. Those hard languages. We don't send people to Paris. We don't send people to Australia. We send people to Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Eurasia, Central Europe, and the Middle East. Those are the places where we want you to study abroad to perfect your language skill. The only thing we ask is when you finish your academic program is you come to work for the federal government. And the way that Congress has set up the service requirement that you have, you must first look for jobs in the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security, State Department, or any of the 17 intelligence community agencies, including places like CIA. You know, it was funny, I was out in California a couple of weeks ago at a conference, and the intelligence community wanted to let school counselors from around the world know about the intelligence community, what they do. And it was amazing that 90% of the school counselors who came to our table thought that the intelligence community consisted only of CIA and NSA. Very wrong. There are 17 agencies in the intelligence community. So when Congress gave us the money and said, okay, start this program, they said, now we want to give money to, or give back to these agencies that have put money on the line to create the skills that they need to add value to what they do. We only ask for a 12-month service commitment from you if you get the award. So most of the students will apply during their sophomore year in school. So you have a little time, you go in, get your freshman year out the way, get a little focus on what you want to do. But then if you are interested in studying hard languages, interested in going overseas and living in the country where those languages are spoken so that you gain that proficiency and learn about the culture of another country, that is the whole reason that this program exists. And as Joe said, we're at table number 19. I paired up with the folks from CIA because I did work for CIA for 35 years, and they asked me to come along because the program that I'm sharing with you is a feeder into the intelligence community. When the students take this program, they get the scholarship or the fellowship, they actually are now prepared to add value to what the national security community does. So if you're interested, after you get into college, please look up the Bourne Awards program. The website is www.bourneawards.org. And you'll have everything in that website that you would need to know about applying for the program. We have vignettes in there with people who've gone through the program and are speaking about what they are now doing in government. I mean, these are some very, very sharp students that go into this program. Every year we give awards to a government employee who's come from our program, who was an undergrad, and also a master's degree student or PhD. And that award recognizes the value that they bring to the organizations that they actually work in. So we track our award recipients as to what they are doing for the 12 months that they have to report service for the federal government. So I'm going to stop there and answer any questions that anyone might have about the National Security Education Program. Anyone? Yes, ma'am, in the back. Or is that sir? I couldn't see with the lights. I apologize. 1 year. We did a study because once the student fulfills their service obligation to the government, legally we can't track them. You know, when you take the program and you are admitted, you finish your program, you have a requirement to tell us what you're doing to find a job in government. And once you find a job, let us know where you're working. We track that until you fulfill at least 12 months of service, and then we just say, congratulations, you fulfill your service to the government, go forth and do wonderful things. Many of them stay where they are for a career, but they don't have to. All the Congress wants is 12 months out of you for that award. Yes, sir. The question was, how much prior knowledge do you have to have of the language that you want to study? The great thing about our program, the Bourne Scholarship and Fellowship Program, you don't even have to have taken a class in a foreign language. What we're looking for are individuals who are motivated to learn the foreign language. We have many students who come into the program have never even taken a language. The thing that we're trying to create are global citizens, individuals who at least have studied a language, learned about a culture, different culture overseas, and that's the important thing for us. We do have other programs where you have to come in with some language capability. We call it something like the Language Flagship program, where you are certified at the end of the program that you can professionally use that language in a job in federal government. But if you're coming into college, say around your sophomore year, you apply for the program, you don't even have to have studied a language. Yes, ma'am. www.boren.org. Another question? Yes, ma'am. No, there's not. I met a couple of weeks ago, I held a job fair for our award recipients. We had 168 of our students come back from overseas, and they're getting ready to launch into their federal job search. And I invited about 28 federal organizations to come in for a job fair so that they can be introduced to the students who just come back from overseas. I probably, in one of the jobs I had at CIA, I used to be the recruitment director at CIA as well. And I met a lady who was the most interesting lady I have ever met in my career. She was a Bourne Award recipient. She had an associate degree, because we will give awards to associate degree personnel who interested in studying languages. She was 55 years old. She had a sailboat that she sailed around the world twice. She was an opera singer. She was a certified veterinarian and a certified French linguist. And I said, wow. She came to me and she said, my background is so varied, I don't even know where I can start looking for a job in government. And I said, you know, I was scratching my head. You're right. With a background like that, it's hard to tell where she would fit. I came up with some ideas. We have, within the Department of Defense, we have a combatant command in Stuttgart, Germany, called AFRICOM. Because of her French language capability, and AFRICOM deals with all things Africa, I sent her resume to AFRICOM, and they came back and said, we want to talk to her. I sent it to one of our contractors who has a contract with the government and said, take a look at this. What do you think? They said, have her call us. Her background is so interesting, we'd like to talk to her. So there is not a college degree. There's not an academic degree that you guys can or will study that we can't use in government. I don't care what it is. You can be a veterinarian and get a job within the intelligence community or with DOD. I mean, you remember we got dogs running around sniffing for bombs and stuff. If you're a veterinarian, you could be doing that. We use everything. Next question. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Right. Okay. Great question. We have a program called the Language Flagship Program. Now, this is a program where we give grants to about 26 colleges and universities around the country to develop advanced language programs on their campus. What the student does is go to that school for one academic year, develop their proficiency in the language, and once they get to a certain level on what we call our interagency language roundtable test, we send you overseas to the country where that language is spoken so that you can further develop that language skill. My suggestion would be, if you apply for one of our programs, go for the one where you need to develop in that language capability, because that's what the program is designed to do. We got instructors who you will go to. If you need a tutor, our money pays for you to have tutoring, and so forth and so on. So the whole purpose of the program is to take something that you might already have some proficiency in and get it to a level that's proficient, and we certify you to the federal government as somebody who can professionally use that language. Normally, if you're applying for the program, it's generally one language that you're going at. If you have other language proficiencies, it depends on the job that you do, whether or not that organization and that position will require multiple language use. It's generally, you don't find that many unless it's a job in our language school, because we have language instructors that we hire to teach various languages, and we have some teachers who are teaching multiple languages in our schools. I think I better take one more. I guess I better let these folks go, huh? I don't know where our other person is. Well, do we have another few minutes? Sure.
So we talked a lot about language training. How does intercultural competence and intercultural training come into this? Because you mentioned, or Joe mentioned earlier, that a lot of what you guys need is for people to be able to really understand the culture that those things happen. So language is one thing, but
right.
if you can't embed it and really understand what makes the people tick and what they're doing. So how do you...
Outstanding. Outstanding. Yep.
Is
Outstanding question. Within the office that I work, we have a cultural office where we have professionals who train people who already have language capability. If they're being assigned overseas, they actually have a cultural course that they put them through on the country that they're going to, what the mores are of the country that they're being assigned to. They have videos, they have all kinds of material that they use to help these people get familiar with the country that they're going to, making sure when they go to that country, they know how to operate, they know how to carry themselves while they're overseas. And it's called the Cultural Something Office. I can't remember the exact name, but we do this for military as well. We have, Project Go or Project ROTC, where we take ROTC students and run them through our program. And they actually go overseas and spend time overseas because we know as they move on in their military careers, they become leaders, and we want them to come there with the language capability already. And that's one of the things we do when we send students overseas. We bring them to DC for a couple of days. We teach you how to purport yourself whatever country you're going to. We have security professionals coming in that let you know what's the environment that you're going to, things that you need to keep your little antenna up, because we know that foreign intelligence services are looking at opportunities to recruit individuals who will be coming back working in the national security community. So we want to make sure we arm you with information that will help you protect yourself while you're overseas. I hope I answered that. Anything else? Going once, twice, 30 times is over. Thank you so much, everybody.